a special city council meeting this evening, Monday, June 22nd, 2020. For the record, all 5 city council members are present, as are members of the staff. And we do appreciate you being here this evening. Short notice, we got a call from the county commissioner, I did, on Wednesday afternoon, and he was calling, I think, 5 of the largest business cities in the county and extending them an invitation to join with the county. Well, he's inviting all the cities, but he wasn't calling all of them to join in on this distribution of CARES Act funds. So, like Steve was mentioning, there's some deadlines. We have to let them know by tomorrow morning. If we're going to participate with the county, we do have the option of going it alone, but there are some advantages to going with the county for some things they've done, and I'll run through those here in a minute. Like to move on first on our agenda. Action item 1, that's discussion on funding and distribution of the CARES Act funds as a result of COVID-19. I think most of you heard about CARES Act. It's been on the news a lot, different meetings we've had with the league and the governor, I'm sure you've heard, but CARES stands for Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. What it does, it provides federal funding through the state. It all comes down through the state, federal funds, and they distribute it to the counties. There was 2 counties that met the population requirement. Is it over 500,000? Is that right, Steve? I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they got separate funding, but the rest of us, it comes through the county and also directly to the cities. It's something we have to apply for from the state. We have to ask for the monies. It provides money to cities and counties to help pay for COVID-19 expenses, money that we put out to help us work through this for PPE and maybe extra manpower, different things we've done. So it provides money for that, and it also provides funding to businesses that's been affected or closed due to the COVID-19 directives. So it does provide money for them. There's 2 sources of money available. County gets money. They get about $24 million for this, for the CARES Act. They get it in $8 million increments. They use the first $8 million. They have to use all of it to request the second $8 million. They get it a third at a time. And the cities does also. Riverdale City, their allocation of money for the total is $784,282, or it's $264,427 in 3 different increments. Again, you spend the first one, you can apply for the second one, and so on for the third one. The money that we get is based on our population, our nighttime population, not on how many businesses we have. And it's based on a population, they said, at 8,940 is our current population. One advantage to going with the county and not doing it ourselves, there are some cities in the county, in fact, there's quite a few that have larger populations than we do with fewer businesses, and they in turn get more money. And they get that extra money, but they don't have the businesses to help, so there's probably going to be leftover funds. That's why I got the phone call from Commissioner Gage Froor last Wednesday. So there'll probably be extra money if we go with the county. The other thing with the county is they've done some legwork on this. They've already got some Excel spreadsheets set up that's got lists of businesses. I think even ones that's been closed, that was closed because of the coronavirus. So it saves us doing a lot of those kind of things. If all cities in the county, if they choose to do so, will work with the county to make sure money is spent. There is one exception to that. Ogden City has their own distribution plan, and they won't be involved, at least at this point, in the county distribution. I would think if there's extra money, they'd probably be willing to be involved in it. But they have some kind of a grant program already set up for distribution of funds. And from what I understand, that's why they're doing their own distribution. Applications for businesses, what the county's trying to do first is give the money to businesses, those who have been affected or impacted. I guess that's the word, is impacted. Businesses must be impacted by COVID-19, and they have an application process. Businesses have to submit an application for funds. They have to justify their need for requested money. They have to show probably some figures from last year and this year and show about their sales and why they're requesting the money. And those are going to be submitted. Tell me again, Cody, the name of that. It's Zoom. What's the app that they use?
It's called Zoom Grants.
Zoom Grants. And that's what the applications will be submitted on Zoom Grants. We're not entirely sure how the review process is going to be, but as we understand, the county will probably they will review the grants, and not sure if we'll have a person on there. We had a little meeting this morning. Cody thought it'd be nice if we had a person on there to help approve the grants. The county is going to advertise to these businesses. Some of that will be with social media. They have some other means. The city is looking at doing a mailing. We can use those Excel spreadsheets, got all the addresses on it. But we'll probably do a mailing to the businesses to let them know that money is available and what they have to do to be eligible for that money. The thing we've been cautioned about, there is the possibility of state and federal auditors. They may ask businesses to pay back money they feel the need wasn't justified. And cities and counties could be held responsible if the business can't pay it back. So cities and counties could be forced to repay their debts. So I don't know, there was you, Cody, that mentioned there was something like this happened some time ago, and the money was all given out. I don't know if it was after the 2008 thing or what it was, but they said there was absolutely no follow-up from the state and federal government. So, but we don't know. We can't count on that. So we have to be very judicious in what we do and how we do it. This is something we don't have to do, but with the amount of attention that's going to be in the county and other cities doing it, would be pretty foolish, I believe, if we didn't participate and try to help our cities, which are really our lifeblood for our city here as far as revenue. And I think really that's That's all I've got. If you have questions, Cody, he's probably the resident expert because he's our finance guy. He's read up on this since they started talking about it. Council, do you have any questions or comments on this?
Mayor, if I could just briefly, Cody's got a whole presentation he could give you. I don't know, it'll give you a lot of information that really won't pertain to you. I mean, basically what we need to know is, first, do we want to do this? And second of all, do we want to do it on our own, or do we do it with the county? I think in our meeting with the mayor and Cody this morning and stuff, we kind of concluded our best option is really to go with the county. They're way ahead of we ever would be, nor do we have manpower to do this. But so it's not, I mean, we could get into a lot of depth with you and give you a lot more information, but I don't know that we really even need to go there because we won't be doing a lot of this. I mean, we'll obviously be working close with them, but they're way ahead of us, and I don't know that we could ever catch up. But there's no way we could ask Cody to do this because we'd probably have to bring in one or two or even more full-time people to handle this whole thing. So our position is just let's just give the county the okay to do it, and we've already been working on it. Shaylee's already been comparing her business list with the county so we don't miss anybody. And we'll do everything we can from this end, including what the mayor mentioned as far as advertising and stuff goes, to put them all on notice and make sure they're getting their apps in. But beyond that, I don't know how wise it would be. We're just not big enough to do something like Ogden City could. Our best option really is to go with the county, but we wanted to get your blessing and your input on it if you had anything or concerns about it. And like I said, Cody's got a whole presentation if we need it, but I don't know, it's probably too much for what you guys need to know at this point. So,
Cody, do you have any comments?
And so really all we're talking about right today is just the first distribution. Like the mayor talked about, it will come in 3 distributions. And the county's asked for 90% of our first distribution. So it works out that it'll be like 235,000. And the other thing that's sensitive with this is we have to spend this money pretty fast so that we can qualify for another distribution. And so then if the county looked at it after this initial distribution and grants were given and they needed to do more, then they might come back to us and say, hey, of your second distribution, can you give us 50% or whatever the case may be. So just because we decide to go with the county on this one doesn't mean that we're giving them 90% of all the funds. It's just the first distribution.
Question,
Go ahead.
Cody. When you say 90%, that the county's asking for 90%, meaning that portion that we would get, they will take 90, and then so we have in our discretion. So the 90% goes to their discretion. 10% is our discretion. Is that how I'm hearing you?
That's correct. So we can use that to pay for things such as like sanitizing. We'll probably incur some costs because from talking to the county, they would like us to promote this grant program to our businesses as well. So we're going to probably have a lot of costs associated with like mailings and postage or if we sent people door to door to contact like the businesses to drop stuff off with the information, because the way the county's talking, they'll only have like a week, 10 days as a business to file with the county for a grant. So they're going to have to like really jump on things. So it's going to be important to get the information out. But yes, you're correct. That 10% would be at our discretion to use but it's got to meet all the parameters of the CARES Act funding program that we fall under.
Okay, so they only have a week to 10 days in this first iteration, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So.
But that other 90% goes to help Riverdale businesses. It's just we only get 10% to help the city pay for its expenses. So.
And our hope is if we really do a good job at marketing this, that our businesses will take greater advantage of our 90%. And probably, like the mayor said, utilize a lot of the county money too. But that's going to be on us to like help promote that. And that's kind of where we thought it was best to focus our time. So.
Any other questions, comments?
Mayor, so who has the final approval on whether these grants are dispersed or not?
So I found some more information out today. So Holland works for the county, and she's with their Department of Economic Development, and her and John Bond are kind of running the program. So what they would like to do is half the money is going to be the counties, and in theory, about half would come from the municipalities. So to move quickly, they would like a board of 4 people to manage these grants. 2 of them will be appointed by the county, and then the other 2 would potentially be appointed, elected, however you want to look at it, by any cities that participate in it. So basically, like if us and Roy and Washington Terrace and everybody decided to participate, it sounded like they'd get with the mayors, and the mayors could be in agreement on 2 people that would kind of represent the cities in the distribution of these grants. And that Zoom grant software allows for ranking of the grants. So then they can just look at them and be like, yeah, like these ones qualify, these ones should be really easy and no-brainers, and then these ones need a little more scrutiny and those kind of things.
Like the criteria is on an Excel sheet, basically, and based on that board's recommendation.
It will be a little bit more high-tech than that, but yes.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, there are some pretty stringent guidelines, Councilor Ellis, they put out. It comes with the application. I don't know if you can, it's here, it's probably about 20-something pages long. It really spells out the criteria for the cities and also the businesses. So.
And the county's done a good job of thinking about a lot of the stuff. I don't know if you can see my screen, but here's the criteria that the county's proposed. So like some of these, this grant amount will be anticipated to be between $2,000 and $35,000. And then they want them to document their revenues, because they wouldn't want like a home occupation business that their annual revenues were $2,000 to come in and say, hey, I need a grant for $35,000. And so they'll have to provide some financial records and stuff so that that's not the case. They were going to put a limitation in place that it would be, and I don't know what slide it's on, but that it would be like 10% of their annual revenues or expenditures, so that there's some controls there. So the county seems to have done a really good job at thinking in the administration and the criteria and the awards and things.
Okay, so are they going to give like a Walmart or a Target that's a corporate owned? Is it big business box store like that? Are they dealt by the specific location, or is their corporate office putting in for it? Does that make sense?
And some of that we don't know the answers to, because like the county is going to administer it, and some of it's going to be up to the county and that board, that panel who reviews the grants. But from what I have seen, they would have the opportunity to apply for it. They'd just have to show that their annual revenues were over that amount and that they'd been impacted, as the mayor talked about, by COVID-19, and then they could qualify to apply. Now, whether they'd be awarded or not, it would depend on those things. But you can see they anticipate that the maximum grant amount's going to be $35,000. So it's not going to, like, we're not going to pay Home Depot the whole thing, and that's going to be all the funding. They're going to be smaller grants.
So this is geared towards small, family type businesses, that sort of thing.
Probably family businesses, but probably more like, I don't know, like somebody who owns a salon, or like a stylist at a salon that hasn't been able to run their salon or cut hair for a couple months, and we're impacted by that. That's how the county's tried to look at it, is people who by the first healthcare order were required to close, or the second health department order were required to close, and they'll receive additional points for that, so that they can show that they were more impacted and harmed by COVID-19.
So Cody, I'm a little confused still back on the county gets 90% and then maybe 50% of future distributions, and how that's going to get used. So does this board decide both the disbursement for eligible businesses of the county's funds as well as any funds that Riverdale might get?
Yeah, let me back up and tell you just a little bit more. So how the state decided to do it is it worked out that there's about $150 per person in the state. So they took that and divided it in half and gave half to the county, half to the municipality. So to answer your question, yes. So in theory, like the county got half the money, we get half the money. So for a business in the city, they should be eligible to use part of the county's $8 million and part of our $235,000 to get a grant.
Okay, and the board will decide which bucket of funds it comes from, but the Riverdale businesses are all eligible for the county's money if that's what the board decides to do.
I think once we contribute it to the county, it will be like it's one pool of money.
Okay,
So if like all the cities in the county contributed to it, I think it was like $21 million that they would have available. And then they would just rank the different businesses' grant applications and decide who got the money and what amounts.
got it. So Norm, you just got to get on the board so that you can take care of local businesses.
Well, I really think we ought to have somebody on that board, or make sure the ground rules are such that our money's used for Riverdale businesses. At
Yep.
least our portion. If there's extra county money, like we mentioned, there's cities that have greater populations but not near the business. There should be a lot of money in there that can be used for businesses in other cities. So I would think there should be plenty, but you're right. And talking about it, I have concerns too, to make sure it's treated justly and fairly, that at least our money goes to our businesses. Any additional we get, that's great. But I think we should have some say in how much these different businesses get, a percentage of what they request, and make sure they're all treated equally. I think that's important. So
Yep.
it's based upon their needs and what they requested. So. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, any other comments? Do we have a consensus to move forward with this with Weber County?
I'm in favor.
I'm on board.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm in favor.
Is there anyone that isn't? Okay, that's looks like we're unanimous in a consensus. We'll go ahead, we'll give them the word that we'll do that. We'll do everything we can to make sure we have the needed oversight to make sure we get what we're supposed to get and our businesses are treated fairly. So, and I think they will. Like I say, I think there'll be enough money there for probably any of our businesses that are in need of some help. So, biggest concern is that they get treated fairly. So that's my concern. So, anything else? Do we have any discretionary business for this meeting? I saw some, I guess you've seen the figures, just a comment or two. Saturday was a record day in the state. Coronavirus, today I think they said it was 444. I saw a little news clip from the state epidemiologist. I think her name's Angela Dunn, Dr. Dunn. Says that this coronavirus is accelerating, and they may even have to do another shutdown. I read an article this morning that the World Health Organization, I think they said it's, seemed like it was Saturday, last Saturday was a record number of new cases for the world. So this thing isn't over with yet. So just that, something there, Councilman.
I was going to ask you, did we ever find an update for that company that emailed us all that wanted to set up testing somewhere in Riverdale?
I'm unaware of that, Steve. I didn't get an email. We actually have talked about that internally in staff. We didn't pursue it a whole lot, but we did kind of throw the idea around where we could stage it and all that kind of stuff. But if you want to forward me that email, we can pursue that a little bit more.
I'll do it.
Thank
I
you.
don't remember seeing that. We've had so many that come advertising their helps and their wares and stuff that I don't know, maybe just overlooked it.
I've seen two different companies. There was one from Davis County somewhere that did it for a number of cities down in Salt Lake, Riverton, and some of those areas. But I did see one just this weekend. I think it was in the Standard that a company out of Logan was doing it for about half the cost of what that other one was. So
Well, this one was a company called Quansis Biosciences, and they're unique in that they were doing the antibody testing in a drive-thru.
right. That's what I'm referring to, is those antibody tests. Send me that email. We'll look at it. I mean, if that's something, we had talked about that. We just haven't pursued it a lot more because nobody's done it here in Weaver County. But my thought was we could stage that up at the rec center and direct that traffic down through that parking lot. Maybe we could pull it off right there without interfering with too much traffic. So it might be something we could do if there's enough interest in it.
And I don't know anything about their reputation.
Hey, Steve, can I make a point on the antibody testing?
Is that Jared?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I didn't know you were even on. Yeah. What do you
Yeah, I
got?
was just listening. So according to the state medical control director, the antibody testing is only about 50% right now. They've been talking about doing healthcare providers, and they're holding off doing that right now because it's not an accurate test. You may or may not have the antibodies. They're not sure yet with the testing the way it's set up.
So my understanding on that, just my 2 cents worth, and I'm no doctor, is that depends on the technology used. Some are accurate-ish and some are not. They just canceled the license for one that was a total failure. So I don't know. It's worth checking into. Maybe vet them through the state if we decide to look at one.
Yeah, and that's what they're doing right now is they're trying to vet a company that seems to be more accurate than most and let the technology kind of roll forward a little bit longer.
Yep.
Okay,
Just send that. We'll look into stuff.
I sent that to you, Steve.
Thank you.
good. Thanks, Steve. Anything else for this meeting? Any discretionary? Have a
We
motion.
probably shouldn't meet today without sending our condolences as a council to former Chief Hansen on the passing of his daughter.
Thank you. We'll pass that along.
Thanks for mentioning that, Steve. I did get this is on a little different light, but I did get a text this morning from the Roy Mayor, Bob Dandoy. He had his son passed away this morning. His youngest son is a result of cancer, so a lot of sad things in the world. So going on. All right, do you have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's go. You can go home, okay? Hey, thanks for being here. Sorry